What this bar chart represents, obviously, is a dramatic improvement in cognitive ability, at least in an animal model. Now, the backstory to this is fairly simple. When consuming or putting into feed glycine and N-Acetylcysteine in this animal model, what happened was basically brain energy began to improve. Inflammation began to decrease. A lot of elements like that began to, which was seen, I should say, take this way, which was seen as an inevitable outcome of time, were obviously not, or mitigated. So what you have here is 3 groups of mice. 20 weeks is the blue, red and green are 90 weeks. But what's the major difference? The green bar represents mice that were fed glycine and N-Acetylcysteine, which the outcome inevitably was raising glutathione levels in the brain. And the green bar was that reversal of what often is considered an inevitable outcome, meaning in some aspects that the aging process is heavily dependent upon environmental factors, not just time. You get the picture. So what is fascinating is this. They did not begin feeding these 90-week-old mice glycine and N-Acetylcysteine until they were 90 weeks. So it was not something they consumed over any length of period of time prior to achieving this incredible outcome in cognitive skills. No, they started feeding these animals glycine and N-Acetylcysteine at 90 weeks. Now, in equivalency terms, generally, that'd be like a 70-year-old individual beginning to take glycine and N-Acetylcysteine starting when they're 70. Now, it's also fascinating, too. You have to keep in mind, this improvement was done in just 8 weeks. We don't know what may have happened if they continued the improvement beyond this. The objective of the study was really to look at how glycine and N-Acetylcysteine combination yielded these benefits. And these benefits were quite remarkable. Although the next chart, per se, was kind of my favorite. And this one is generally done to brain respiration. This next chart, which is fascinating to me, and it was not necessarily mentioned heavily in the research study itself, is, keep in mind, the green bar are the 90-week-old mice fed the glycine and N-Acetylcysteine. Now, look at the green bars compared to the 20-week-old mice, or 28 weeks at the end of the study. You see the difference? Do you see not the performance or respiration, I should say, beyond that of just the general younger mice? And don't even bother with the 90-week-old non-supplemented mice. But that's what I'm trying to say. You're looking at this and you go, how, not just can you mitigate the effects of time and environmental factors, because obviously it takes more than just time, but you could actually, in this animal model at least, tend to offset, I don't want to say reverse, but chart-wise, it sure does look like that. So let's get right into the research. We'll go into an approximate dosaging that the researchers alluded to in one of the other studies. I think was footnote number 64. We'll check in a second. But let's get into the research, and I'm going to take some of the highlights. But again, this is fascinating. This is chart number 2, which is kind of my favorite. First one there is obviously the improvements in the cognition. Second one here is still something which goes, interesting. All right, so let us begin. All right, GlyNAC supplementation improves cognitive decline in brain health and aging. They report today in the Journal of Antioxidants that supplementing GlyNAC, glycine, and N-Acetylcysteine, a combination of glycine and N-Acetylcysteine, to reiterate, as precursors of the natural antioxidant glutathione, improved or reversed age-associated cognitive decline. You see, when you hear the word reverse, we are so fixated on age. You shouldn't even take the word age out of the equation. Obviously, an erosion of capability has possibly a lot to do with environmental factors without interjecting publisher bias. But you get what I'm alluding to. To proceed. Associated cognitive decline in old mice and improved multiple associated defects in the aging brain. These findings are consistent with improvements observed after supplementing older adults humans, because the study was also conducted in humans too. But again, to reiterate, they wanted to find out why these improvements were occurring. It's important with GlyNAC as reported in the 2021 pilot human trial. Therefore, the findings report here are likely applicable to humans. All right, this is the glutathione benefit. This is the bar chart as far as raising glutathione levels where they're important. And you could see it right there, and that's basically the end result. So the glycine and acetylcysteine level, at least in the animal model, provided there's not any of the confounding that you and I or other researchers are not aware of, looks pretty darn good. And again, only 8 weeks. So even for the most impatient of souls, it's pretty promising. All right, to proceed. Now in a quote, "For over 2 decades, my lab has been studying natural aging in older humans and aged mice," said the corresponding senior author. I don't want to mispronounce the name. "Our work provides an understanding of how age-associated cognitive decline in older humans is linked to glutathione deficiency. Increased oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, abnormal glucose metabolism, and insulin resistance, inflammation, and low levels of neurotrophic and neuron supporting factors, and that supplementing GlyNAC reverses these defects and improves cognition." Again, age is going to become an outdated term if these discoveries keep on yielding these outcomes as you and I see. Proceed. "Human studies only permit measurements at the whole body level. So in this study, the researchers studied mice to investigate defects directly in the aging brain." Meaning, they just can't take a person, organelles or organoids maybe in the future, but for now, no. That's pretty gruesome. "This study is important for many reasons. It assesses the reversibility of naturally occurring cognitive decline and aging." See, that's another word too. And this is me interjecting publisher bias. If these elements can be reversed through nutritional interventions, then is it really natural? Whole other subject. "Occurring cognitive decline and aging instead of cognitive decline resulting from introducing gene defects. Increased age is identified as the most important risk factor for Alzheimer's disease, and these naturally occurring defects were studied directly in the brain." All right, this is going to go through your methodology right here. You see, for example, 90-week-old mice, equivalent to about 70-year-old, and the one group got the GlyNAC supplemented diet. And if you look at GlyNAC supplementation, old mice corrected brain glutathione deficiency, improved brain glucose transporters, reversed mitochondrial dysfunction, and improved cognition. In addition, GlyNAC supplementation reduced oxidative stress, inflammation. Now, publisher bias once again. If GlyNAC introduction can reduce brain inflammation, and you know how brain inflammation is being associated now or correlated with depression and anxiety, makes you think. And genomic damage and improved neurotrophic factors. I don't know why it's a problem tonight. All right, and let us proceed now to the next level. We're going to go into the full study. Now, I wanted to highlight this one aspect from the full study because it gives an in-depth analysis of what the researchers will be looking for in the future as well as what they see today. Quote, "Our current study in aged mice finds that aged mice develop cognitive decline which is associated with multiple specific defects in the brain, and supplemented with GlyNAC successfully reverses multiple brain defects and reverses cognitive decline. These twin benefits provide evidence that GlyNAC supplementation could promote brain health and reverse cognitive decline in aging. However, after GlyNAC supplementation, improvement in cognitive function remained lower than the values in young mice." So, again, only a 8-week period of time, suggesting the duration of supplementation may have been too short. Future studies should test whether longer durations of GlyNAC supplementation could further improve the cognitive performance of old mice to match young mice. It is also necessary to remember that mice and humans are separate species. This is the caveat. And these findings should be confirmed in older humans. In an earlier pilot clinical trial in older adults, quoting, "We found and reported that GlyNAC supplementation improved cognitive function and similar underlying defects. But this trial was limited by a small sample size and lacked a placebo control arm. Larger placebo-controlled, double-blind, or randomized clinical trials in older adults are necessary to definitively confirm these observations. Studies are expensive." You get the picture for those researchers out there. Now, to the conclusion. The results of the study provide proof of concept that GlyNAC supplementation improves age-associated decline and supports brain health and aging by improving and correcting brain glutathione deficiency. elevated OXX, mitochondrial dysfunction, abnormal mitophagy and autophagy, inflammation, impaired glucose transport, uptake, elevated genomic damage, and reversing decline in brain neurotrophic growth factors. GlyNAC could be a simple and effective nutritional supplement to support brain health in cognitive function, aging, and warrants additional investigation. All right, let's go into the methodology real fast. Now, don't worry, we're going to go into one of the studies, again, reference the 0.64, which gave a little bit of a human comparison. To proceed, methods. N-Acetylcysteine, 1.6 milligrams a gram of feed, and glycine, 1.6 milligrams a gram to feed. So basically, it was 1-to-1 ratio. Now, reference, we're going to pull out 64 because it's the easiest to translate for you, the public. To proceed, supplementing glycine and N-Acetylcysteine, GlyNAC in older adults improves glutathione deficiency, oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, inflammation, physical function, and aging hallmarks, a randomized clinical trial. There's one of them right there. It's a randomized clinical trial. All right, so we're looking at this research. This is not the research that we showed you earlier. This is just research we're referencing or correlating so you can get an idea of the dosaging that they alluded to in reference mark number 64. All right, and what are we looking at? Right here. Just see the idea of the outcome. Then we'll get to the dosaging. Please forgive the buildup for suspense. GlyNAC supplementation in OA for 16 weeks was safe and well tolerated by combining the benefits of glycine and acetylcysteine and glutathione. GlyNAC is an effective nutritional supplement that proves and reverses multiple age-associated abnormalities to promote health in aging humans. That was the outcome of the study. What did they do? Boom, boom. 100 milligrams a kilogram a day, each of glycine and acetylcysteine for 16 weeks. Do not be confused with placebo, 200 milligrams a day of the alanine. Focus on the glycine and acetylcysteine in the reference study, which was 64 in the study itself. So what you have here is pretty incredible. If you think about it, all the research, what is this study number, episode 1137 that both you and I have covered over time? There is enough circumstantial evidence, or suggestive evidence, I should say, that you could take basically, you to conduct a study with a null and alternative hypothesis, where you could take your null hypothesis and say time and aging are strongly correlated, all right? And you could take your alternative hypothesis by saying, well, it is not. And if you ran it through like a single-sided or a double-sided t-test or whatever it is, and you took these studies per se that showed reversal in many of the associated assumptions in reference to an individual being around longer, I don't want to say age, you could basically almost extrapolate the data to where time may not be a causative factor, but may be strongly correlated. But obviously, if things can be reversed, then what are we talking about? Again, you can at least make that association between reducing the strength of the correlation between time and aging on its own. It could be an environmental issue all onto itself. The longer you're around, the more insults, the more likely you're going to be taking a few hits here and there. But there it is. Glycine and acetylcysteine, really, really powerful data as far as being reproduced in studies. The gold mark is really for other individuals taking that data and reproducing that data to achieve similar outcomes. So we have a real positive, strong feeling that this research is going to have even greater impact as time moves forward. Well, as we discover more about it. Again, gratitude to the researchers, gratitude for watching. Oh, by the way, too, I'm just curious. Did any of you out there that follow the channel get notified of episode 1136? Look at episode 1136. You're probably going to see why it may have been not presented as readily in a lot of the search venues or to our base. But still, I'm curious if any of you saw episode 1136. All right, again, this is 1137, show 1137. You and I have been doing this for quite some, I'll say, a while. All right, I'll catch you all next time. See you then. Bye.